Hair Space Cats. This week it's all about how to make hair look right on the page. Yep, it's me, Jules, with a Friday drawing video. I'm actually working on a new book idea at the moment, so I thought I'd take you with me as I work my way through some different hairstyles for my new characters. I'll show you how I go about making marks on the paper that look like hair. It'll be in my usual style, kind of quirky, whimsical, and a bit, well, hopefully illustrative. Right, before we do anything else, make sure you press that red button, the one that says subscribe on it. That way, YouTube knows that this video is worth watching and may put it in front of other people like you who want to draw more stuff that brings them joy. Okay, ready? Let's do this, buddy. The first thing I do when I'm trying to decide on some new characters, particularly their faces or hairstyles, is just to draw some ovals so that I can just have a little bit of a brainstorm. So, if you were wanting to draw somebody, like I've been drawing a mermaid fairly recently, and she has very sort of swishy hair. It's a bit kind of all over the place. So just some lines, like sort of sea, almost like the sea, like making waves. That's one sort of hairstyle, and then she might have some little, this is also a bit of an updo. Let's give her a little face. But she might have a bit more of a schoolgirl sort of a look, so let's give her an Alice band with, let's put on there a butterfly. So this hasn't really got anything to do with the hair at the moment. And then maybe she could have a fringe. And give her a sort of a bit of a 60s thing going on, so a big sort of beehive kind of. There's her little ears. Or you might go for somebody who has got, well, this is quite a simple one, to give her a side parting, and then her hair kind of covers one side of her face a little bit like this. It's all about looking at the outside shapes. And then you can start filling in. You can either just totally fill that in with a colour or with black, and then that also gives you the idea of the shape that you could then go on and work with a bit more if you wanted to, or just leave it like this. Or you can give it some definition like I did with these other two by just drawing down some lines going in the same direction as your shape. Okay, so what about somebody who's got long hair that's down? Well, let's give her a bit of a fringe. And there's her shoulders. And then we could have some parts of her hair coming down in front of this shoulder. And then the rest can go behind. So that, if that's the top of the head, remember that you need to go up a little bit, because most people's hair doesn't lie dead flat on the top of their head. And that's quite a short fringe. If you wanted to make it longer, you could. Just come down to her eyes a bit. And if you see it sort of flick out behind the shoulders, that gives you an idea as to how long it is as well. Perhaps you've got someone who's got quite wavy hair. So let's give this one a wavy. Again, you just really got to build up those shapes. What about someone if they've got quite sort of afro hair? Let's imagine we've got someone with a very, very curly black hair like afro, and she's pulled it back a little bit, and then she's got a kind of big pulled into a ponytail. That's how I'd do that, and then you could do like maybe a couple of little wispy bits of curl. Let's give it some tone. And then moving on to men or boys. Let's start with this one over here. So he has got quite a sort of scruffy look to him. Perhaps he's a teenage schoolboy. They like to have their hair over their eyes, don't they? It's just about building up those shapes and textures. And remember where the eyes are going to go. They're going to go down halfway from between the top and the bottom. And perhaps we shouldn't have him smiling. Grimacing, maybe. The second one, let's give him, I think we'll give him a kind of quiff. So it kind of, the front bit kind of comes up and away, and you have to do this sort of side on, because if you did it front on you wouldn't really see that very well. Give him his ears, and then just a little bit where it's all slicked back. So it's just that front bit that's kind of up. And also you can think about his facial hair too. When we're talking about hair, we could have like maybe, let's give him a bit of a Magnum PI mustachio. The next one, he's going to have really curly hair too. So he's got kind of wild, but just on the top. Perhaps we've got an old guy. Let's do this one as a bit of an old chap. And a bit like this one, but he's got a bit of a comb over. So he's got a kind of, it comes from one side to the other, like that. But he's a bit thin on top. So let's give him some sides. And just a few very thin strands across the top like that. He's trying desperately to keep it all under control. Ears. Give him some glasses. Perhaps you've got somebody who's got a bit of a, what I can only describe as a Brad Pitt. You know, this kind of really long, floppy, slightly well-groomed kind of look. Hugh Grant in the old days. And he can have a bit of a goatee going on as well. Tucked behind his ears. And just kicking out a little bit behind his ears like that. And then the last neat one we're going to do, let's do someone with quite, let's see, I'm going to do somebody with, again, sort of floppy over the face hair, shorter on one side, and that kind of, not dissimilar to this one, but just a bit neater. So these are all the things that I'm thinking about as I'm doing my own characters, and I'll show you in a minute what I've come up with. You can also think about the colour as well as you're doing this. Maybe he's got darker ends or something. He's got blonde hair, but he's dyed the ends dark. So here is some of my characters that I've got so far for my new book, and I've got the dad and the two kids and the dog. So they're all in their outdoor winter gear at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a fresh piece of paper and think about what they're going to look like when they're indoors and they haven't got their hats on. So what I'm thinking is the dad is quite kind of groovy, and he's quite a young dad. He has got this beard, and I have decided as well that they're going to have the eyes like I normally draw them. Rather than just dots like I've got in this. So let's give him, he's got one of these sort of beards that comes down into a bit of a point. You know, he's a bit of a he's a bit of a hipster. Eyebrows. So what am I going to do for his hair? Well, good question. I think he has a sort of short Tintin, which is that kind of quiffy, short quiff kind of thing, but it's really short on the sides. Maybe just a little bit standing up at the back like that. I like a bit of a Tintin. That's what I always used to do with my boys when they were little. Get them to have a Tintin. So there he is. That's the dad. The little girl now. I think she's got a Scandinavian hat on that's got these bobbly bits down the side. So what I was thinking was that she probably doesn't have ponytails out the side, like two ponytails, but she could have plaits. So her plaits will come down like this, And she could have quite a long fringe, so let's get her eyes in to start with. And then we'll know how long the fringe needs to be. So she's one of these ones who's got a really annoying fringe that goes in her eyes. So that's the other thing about doing hair, is that you could of course do any number of ways of putting the hair up into a ponytail or plaits or a bun. Really the list of options is pretty endless. Okay, so that works for her because when she's got a hat on, then it will cover a lot of that. So you can have it hat on or hat off. Now for my little boy, who there is no hair showing at all from under his hat. So I think like his dad, he's quite, you know, he likes to be a bit like his dad. So let's give him, we could give him a kind of a bit of a groover's fringe. Let's give him some pupils. And then just really, really short, so I'm just going to dot. So it's almost like shaved at the sides here. And then again, that can come underneath the hat, because he's, for the majority of the story, he is going to be wearing that hat. A little bit of shading. So this is something that I will continue working on until I've got it how I want it to look. And the hairstyles is just really one aspect of their character. Of course, it's going to be their clothes, what their eyes look like, what their mouths are going to look like, and their nose, and the way that they stand as well. So that's something I will continue to work with. If you'd like further artist tutorials, I have a variety of short courses that will help you. There are real-time sessions looking at painting, drawing and marker pens, among others. And if you're keen on producing your own book, there is a more in-depth course on what you need to know about self-publishing a book with illustrations. And that covers making key decisions, how to make layouts and dummy books, rhythm and pacing, as well as several tutorials on illustrating your book, and a look at the tech. You can either hop over to my website or join me on Patreon for more information. Go on, give it a go! And as the rain starts, next week I will be looking at autumn inspiration. That's things that are on the turn, different colours, and also basically things that you can eat. Yum yum, pig's bum. I'm off to roll myself in sugar and pretend that I am a toffee apple. I will see you next time. Nanu nanu.